Ever wondered who and what is shaping Luxembourg? This is your Lux Unplugged podcast with your hosts, Adrian and Thierry.
Hi, I'm Thierry.
Hi, I'm Adrian. Welcome back to another episode of Luxembourg podcast.
In this episode, I welcome Charles-Louis Machuron, founder at Silicon Luxembourg.
So what are your takeaways from this conversation, Thierry?
Charles-Louis has got a very solid view of the startup scene in Luxembourg. His business revolves around the communication and marketing of startup players.
Luxembourg has indeed enhanced the whole ecosystem, allowing startups to flourish in a business-friendly environment. Anyone interested in finding out more about the latest news in this space should definitely visit Charles-Louis' website.
That is correct. But now, without further ado, my conversation with Charles-Louis Machuron, founder at Silicon Luxembourg. Welcome to LuxUnplugged podcast.
Yeah, thank you for your invitation.
For those who don't know you, can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So I'm French. I moved to Luxembourg. Now it's about 11 years ago, in 2009. I'm 37. I'm married. I have 3 kids in Luxembourg. They are 1, 3, 4. So it's also my own incubator and startups at home. So the story that I come from Paris region in France, and so I studied in Paris, in also in Nantes, in the west of France. I started working in Paris in a design agency, and also a startup back in 2007. And then I moved to Canada, to Montreal, to open the subsidiary of a company there with a team of a few people. And then after Canada, when I came back to Paris, I met an entrepreneur. He was launching a startup in Luxembourg, and I decided to join the startup and come in 2009 in Luxembourg.
How was the transition between Paris, Canada, and then moving to Luxembourg?
Well, Luxembourg is a small village, so I mean it's very interesting. Of course, it's not exactly the same size than Paris or Montreal, but I mean I feel really happy now in Luxembourg. It's not that far also from Paris. I mean it's 2 hours train, so it's also easy to commute and visit family and friends. So. Yeah, it's the transition was okay. I mean, the first 2 years were, not that easy, but I mean, I managed it, so it was fine.
So you launched obviously then Silicon Luxembourg. Why did you launch the company, and what was your underlying vision behind that?
Well, when I moved to Luxembourg in 2009, for the first 2 years, I was commuting between our 2 offices, between Paris and Luxembourg. And in Paris, we were working in a co-working space. So I was also experiencing the startup ecosystem in Paris. Yes, more than 10 years ago. And so when I came to Luxembourg the first year, there were no ecosystem. I mean, between 2009 and 2013, there were not that much co-working spaces or events, or we were not talking that much about startups. So I was a bit surprised. And so for the first years in Luxembourg, I used to work for a startup, for a media company. I also started a French startup also in Luxembourg. And during those first years, I really had this idea of Silicon Luxembourg, of launching maybe a blog just to talk about startups and maybe write once a month or twice a month a story about a startup. So this is how it all started.
And how does Silicon Luxembourg assist businesses and startups today?
Well, today, to be honest, we are now a B2B media. So we assist much more startups regarding their visibility, and we are already now a media, so we are sharing content, writing articles, trying to highlight the startups and the entrepreneurs in Luxembourg, and try to spread the word out. So I mean, how do we help startups? It's really to help them reach a larger audience, tell what they are doing, events they organize. So it's really much more a platform to to get the startup visible, both in Luxembourg at a local level, but also at an international level, because 60% of our audience is not from Luxembourg, surprisingly.
Where the majority from then?
So of course, first Luxembourg, then we have the States, the United States, then the UK, France, Belgium, Germany, Spain, Netherlands. I mean, it's also because most of the entrepreneurs or the startup entrepreneurs in Luxembourg are not from Luxembourg, and so when they are also sharing the content, they are also spreading the content, through their networks, and it's a worldwide level.
Yeah, and did you have any difficulties when you launched the company? Or I'm originally from Luxembourg. I know how difficult it is sometimes, so it's good to hear, what you need to be prepared with when thinking of launching a business.
Yes, to be honest, when I launched Silicon Luxembourg, it was just a blog, so I didn't have a business plan. There was not an ecosystem, not that much corporates involved in the ecosystem. So really for the first 3 years, I just saw the ecosystem also booming because of Digital Luxembourg as well. When the Prime Minister and the government launched Digital Luxembourg in 2014, then all the corporates and I don't know how many people just jump into the startup scene. And this how it started. So I mean, the most difficult part was when I launched. I didn't expect to run a media company, and I didn't expect to have a magazine and organize events, running a business club, and so on. So yes, I mean the most tricky thing is that it's today I'm running really a media company, so I have also to have a business plan and I have also clients, content to write, and so it's but facing the main challenging and issues over the past years, that they opened so many incubators, co-working spaces, started acceleration programs, startup programs, that we had to face much more content than expected. So at some point it was just how to manage all the content.
So if you think back then, from starting Silicon Luxembourg and where we are today, what have been your seminal moments since you launched?
When I first talked to an entrepreneur, and he really helped me. In summer 2013, he really helped me to start Silicon Luxembourg. I mean, I had only the idea, but I'm not a developer, I'm not a journalist. I had only this idea, and he really gave me the opportunity to launch this blog. Then the second seminal moment was just really the beginning, when I launched the first newsletter to 250 friends and business contacts in Luxembourg. Say, okay, I'm just launching Silicon Luxembourg. If you want to follow the content and follow us, just feel free to share. And I think like 3-5 weeks after, we received dozen of requests to publish articles. So the really beginning was really intense. I mean, the first year it was like a pioneering in the in the ecosystem, and trying to launch the first startup afterworks, the first talks, and launch really a blog and really a media. So it was the first most important most important fact at the very beginning. And I think another really important fact is in 2016 when we started the magazine, so a print magazine and a hard copy. And it was very challenging because in Luxembourg magazines are really popular. Launching a startup magazine was a bit maybe just super challenging, but today I'm really proud to say that we are shipping the magazine in more than 25 countries.
Okay, yeah.
Of course, mostly in Luxembourg, but we have now readers and subscribers in South Africa, in Brazil, in Indonesia, in Russia, in the States, in Canada, in so many countries. It's and they just subscribed online, so it means that they're really heard about Silicon Luxembourg at some point, and they really subscribe online to the magazine.
As you've probably seen, then obviously the last 3 years have been a growing number of startups, either started here or startups relocating to Luxembourg. Can you tell our listeners how have you experienced, or how has Silicon Luxembourg experienced this growing trend?
Yeah. So today, what we see that we have much more people really interested in the startup field, and really I meet really every day people really interested in launching their own startup in Luxembourg. I think also an important fact is that Luxembourg is really trying to attract a lot of startups, because we don't have, to be honest, that much entrepreneurs in Luxembourg, or people really willing to launch their own company. So I mean, it's part also of the strategy also to attract tech companies from many countries, attract the entrepreneurs and the teams. And the second thing that over the past years also that the academic base also in Luxembourg, with the University of Luxembourg, now the incubator of the University of Luxembourg is now, I mean, providing entrepreneurs. So we see that students now are also jumping into the startup ecosystem and attending the events, participating to hackathons, pitching contests, and so on. And it was not much the case over the past year. So, I mean, if you look at all the startup ecosystem in different big cities, capitals, Berlin, Paris, or London, or any capitals, you see that the academic ground is really super important if you want to have startups, and if you want to have young companies and young people really trying to launch their own business. And this is something that really changed over the past 6 years. Is now we have young people really joining the ecosystem, and so I think even next year will be, so 2020, a really good year also for the university.
And how important do you think the ecosystems are for Luxembourg?
Well, Luxembourg is a small ecosystem, to be honest. We have a few hundreds startups in Luxembourg. We will not reach thousands of startups, but I think Luxembourg can really specialize in different areas and in industries, and be a leader in those industries. I mean, of course, they are pushing really hard with the fintech, so financial innovation and technology, pushing also really hard with the space tech, so all the space technology, but there is also all the health sector as well. Of course, the ICT sector in Luxembourg is really strong. A few thousands people working in that area. I think education also is and all the innovation around education is also something that Luxembourg is also targeting. We have also cybersecurity, with a good cybersecurity center in Luxembourg. So I think if Luxembourg want to become a leader in the tech ecosystem, they really have to focus on different industries.
And do you see Luxembourg as a potential major hub for startups? Because competition is, like you said, Berlin, Paris, London.
What we are trying to do since a few years, and I mean we, with all the players in the ecosystem, is to put Luxembourg on the startup map. We have a very young startup ecosystem, so now what we will need is also to have exits, to have also major fundraising that can also put attention on Luxembourg, to reach other media at a European or international level. So yeah, we need much more success story. What I see now is that startups are looking for talents more and more. I mean, during 2019, we published over 250 job openings on Silicon Luxembourg, and we don't have all the job openings from startup, but we have maybe 80% of the jobs currently. and it was really not the case even 2 years ago. So I see that there is a lot of traction, and that startups are really performing really well. They are raising funds, they are hiring people. So this is something that really changed over the past years. And now, yes, we need to have big success stories in Luxembourg. One issue sometimes is it's great to attract big names and to attract foreign companies in Luxembourg. But the most difficult part is also to attract the team and the talents from those companies. So this is maybe one of the main challenge for Luxembourg.
And how easy is it then for you to interact with all the new startups or the startups that have been implemented in Luxembourg and providing your services to them? Because obviously when there is a startup with a couple of people relocating to Luxembourg, they might be known in another country already, but obviously they want publicity and media exposure. And that's when obviously Silicon Luxembourg comes into play. So your interactions with those company, is it easy to make those connections because everybody's like open-minded?
Yes, it's easy to make connection. Luxembourg is a small village, so if a startup is coming to Luxembourg, at some points we will be in touch with this startup, whether they got in touch directly with us through our website, or whether we meet them along an event, or I don't know if they join an incubator and so on. So yes, we are in touch with a lot of companies. We are also in touch with a lot of entrepreneurs, or sometimes entrepreneurs who have only the idea, and maybe in 2 years when they launch their own startup, then they will come back to us to say, hey, we are launching our company. Can we get visibility through Silicon Luxembourg? So it's a long time process. I mean, it's a lot of networking in Luxembourg, but I met so many entrepreneurs now that they are also launching, who are launching their own company. And I remember I met them during an event a few years ago. So it's really a lot of networking in Luxembourg to get in touch with those people. And then after 6 years of Silicon Luxembourg and soon 11 years in Luxembourg, also the ecosystem, the network in Luxembourg helped me also a lot to reach the right people, to get the right also information regarding those startups, I mean.
And like you said, you moved to Luxembourg 11 years ago. What are your favorite things about Luxembourg then? Excluding obviously the startup scene.
To be honest, the outdoor is Luxembourg is a fantastic gateway if you like outdoor activities, and I'm very fond of sports and this kind of activities. So Luxembourg is really green. You have a lot of forest. If you want to go for a run, you can even run in the city without crossing a road, just running in the forest for trail running. If you like cycling, if you like, I don't know, even playing soccer, tennis, you have so many facilities in Luxembourg. Luxembourg is also a small place, so you have also a lot of bars and cafe and restaurants, so you can also enjoy really having a lifetime in Luxembourg. And of course, as I'm a dad of 3, it's also a fantastic place if you want to raise your kids. So yeah, school, creche, and so on. It's so great in Luxembourg. So I think it's a really fantastic place if you want also to have a family and so on. So that's what also I'm experiencing at the same time than Silicon Luxembourg. So yeah.
The quality of life is
the quality of life. Yes, is it's very amazing. I mean, to be honest, I like visiting different cities, and when I have business meetings, I don't know, in Brussels or Paris, I really enjoy going back there for a few days. But I think in Luxembourg you can also take a deep breeze, and you are also really close to so many cities in the Netherlands, in Germany, in other countries. So this is one of the main maybe also asset of Luxembourg. If you want to even to start your business, not that far from many cities and countries.
And if someone plans to move to Luxembourg or establish a startup, what would your advice be? Contact Silicon Luxembourg.
Well, first, yes, contact Silicon Luxembourg. Just take time to network. I mean, networking is the key thing if you want to first to build, of course, to leverage your network, but also if you want to connect with business leaders in Luxembourg. It's also how you make also business in Luxembourg, as it's a really small place. Huh? So if you want to reach I don't know, the Prime Minister, you are only one contact from the Prime Minister, or if you want to reach anyone in the country, it's a great place to connect with leaders. Of course, I would say give a chance to Luxembourg. Sometimes you can feel that it's maybe too small to build your company, or at the very beginning, if you come from a big city or another country, something you would like to see that it's moving much faster forward and so on. Just give a chance to Luxembourg.
Yeah. Well, Charles, thank you very much for this episode. We hope, of course, to see you back in one of our other episodes. If there's one more thing you would like to tell our listeners, so they can find you on siliconluxembourg.lu. So it's like Silicon Valley, but you remove Valley and it's Luxembourg. So yeah, no, I think that I'm really looking forward the next years, to be honest, with for the ecosystem, because I think that over the past 6 years we really built a strong ecosystem. We now have all the facilities, all the buildings, all the programs and events. So now it's just a matter of having new projects, new startups, new entrepreneurs also launching their own business in Luxembourg, or relocating to Luxembourg to expand their business. And I think that the next year will be really, really interesting regarding the new type of project we will be able to launch or attract to Luxembourg. So yes, please visit siliconluxembourg.lu to get all the news. I'm really happy also that we can see now much more podcasts coming also to Luxembourg. So I think it's also a great initiative. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the LuxUnplugged podcast. Please share this podcast with friends and family and leave us a review on iTunes. Also, please don't forget to visit our website, LuxUnplugged.com. And see you next time.